All right, hello, welcome to Buffalo Sports Insider, bringing you everything sports, everything Buffalo. My name is Zielezinski, and I'm also joined here with Deshawn, Francois, and Justin Siejak. You guys know them, you love them, but there may be a couple of faces that you don't know. We also have Brandon Barry here for the first time. Welcome, Brandon. And we also have Richie Miller joining us one more time. He was here just for a short little bit for our last episode on Monday. Thanks for joining us on such short notice because as this 53-man roster just broke yesterday, practice squad signings happening today as well. We did want to get on the air and talk about it before it was old news. So before we do begin this whole discussion, remember to like, follow, subscribe to Everything Buffalo Sports Insider, spread the good word, and make sure you check us out on our website at buffalosportsinsider.com. We have everything there, new content coming at you, articles, you name it. We got it. Thanks for being here. Justin, let's start out with some interesting news that broke this morning. Kind of happened overnight, but confirmed this morning. Germain Ifeti, O-lineman, just signed to the starting squad. So what is your thoughts about that? I know how they've kind of shifted around the offensive line a little bit.
Yeah, you take a look at that backup tackle depth, and it wasn't very strong, regardless of what point in time in the offseason was. So Ifeti comes in. He's a guy who's been in the league for a while, and he's not a Pro Bowler. He's not even really a good starter. But what he is he's an upgrade at depth. He's the first-round pick in 2016. Ifeti, he's served for probably 2 or 3 teams at this point. He's been a serviceable backup. So I think it was a good move by the Bills to bring in a guy who could probably back up Spencer Brown should anything happen.
Yeah. Anybody else have any other thoughts about the signing?
I think the signing was needed because, as you saw, they released 6 offensive linemen, the most in the position group. And now that leaves them with the question, do they go ahead and look for another veteran offensive lineman because they had to pick up someone from another team?
Exactly. And I love that we're kind of shifting into this conversation because with the roster cuts happening yesterday, 2 big names I think that we should mention from the O-line, David Quessenberry and also Ike Boettger, who have been here for a while. Now, they did opt to keep in players like Ryan Vandemark and Alec Anderson. So how does that kind of affect the locker room from here on out?
I think what you're going to see right now is it's pretty obvious that the Bills are heading towards a youth movement in the offensive line. And the reason Vandemark got the edge is because he has that swing tackle ability. He can play at left and right. And then you've got Alec Anderson, who's a jack of all trades. This guy played at UCLA, and he was, playing all across the line. He did the same thing in the preseason. He's playing guard, tackle, center, whatever, you name it. He was playing good snaps, and he earned a spot in the final 53. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, there's that going on as well. Also, one big news that did break yesterday was the Boogie Basham trade to the Giants. And again, I know a lot of people are calling the Giants the Bills NFC East.
Yeah.
Bills too. Exactly. And why is that? Because that is
Dable's team.
Exactly. Dable's team. Tell me more about it. Why are we sending Boogie over there?
I feel like the Boogie Basham signing mainly was because of what Kingsley has done in the preseason. Yes. And I also feel like AJ Epinesa ended up with some pretty solid stats at the end of last year, and I feel like he's only improving. There was a short period where people were starting to think he might be a bust, and I feel like he kind of silenced that last year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think AJ Epinesa, one of those players so far in the Bills' repertoire that has had some flashes here and there, but overall, generally not as consistent as your starter. We're talking about Miller.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
you're not going to get snaps with those guys. The one thing I want to mention about the Basham trade is this guy really got moved for nothing, essentially.
I was about to say, please, mention.
The Bills swapped their 7th round pick to move up for a 6th round pick with the New York Giants. Really, there must have been no trade value for this guy, which is very interesting because this is still a rookie. Not a rookie, he's a third-year player now, 24 years old. He's got 2 years left on his rookie deal, so he's cheap. Right. He comes at a low price. There really was no market. So the Bills essentially just sent this guy out for nothing, and that should be a testament of how confident they feel in Kingsley Jonathan. And
Deshawn, also tell me as well, because we a couple more notable names that we had, Darrynton Evans being one of them. Why the cover Darrynton Evans? Because I know a lot of people were questioning because he had that really flashy play in the last game of the preseason. So a lot of the question marks are, why cut this guy?
So I think looking at it down the line, you see Latavius Murray being that guy that they have on the 3rd down, and they have very confident in James Cook. So I feel like they didn't need Darrynton Evans anymore. And I'm sorry. That's just, I really wanted Darrynton Evans to be on the team. So it kind of hurts having to talk about. I wasn't expecting you to do that to me. It kind of sprung the question the opposite direction because I wanted them to keep Evans because I felt like he could have been that guy that they needed on the field to push them through those yards and be the guy that they needed for the third down when Josh Allen can't make the pass.
You got to tell me then, right? Evans over who? Because I personally, right, for me, it's Cook, RB1, Harris, RB2, because I like him as more of that third down.
Yeah, Damien Harris wasn't really a question for me. Like, that's why I didn't name him at all. But it's like, I feel like it would have been Cook or Murray. Yeah. And with Cook being someone that's been on the team and they have more confidence in him, I would have been leaning toward Latavius Murray being the guy that would have got the cut over Darrynton Evans.
Makes sense, yeah. Yeah, no, really interesting. So, again, that's the running back room. We also have AJ Klein, veteran linebacker, who they just brought on. When did they bring him on? That was the start
during the offseason.
During the offseason.
A couple stints with the Bills at the beginning.
Exactly. So they cut him, and now that opens up some spots over in the linebacker room, which has been really high point of contention throughout the preseason. So I think that those are some really interesting moves that have been happening. Obviously, those cuts coming yesterday along with a very long list of other names, but some of you might not know. What we do want to do before we go into more discussion about this is remember to put in your questions for us in the chat because we will be taking time to read those at the end of the segment here. And I'm here and we do have a question right now. So let's go and take a look at that. And it's from Thomas Bailey. What cut was the most surprising to you?
Darrynton Evans. Darrynton Evans.
Sean already says Darrynton Evans. I think for me, which I would love to go into. Andy Isabella.
That too.
We were having some discussion about this. I was just talking to Justin after our show on Monday about Andy Isabella and how I thought he would make the roster. Obviously a fan favorite. Learned the playbook really quickly. And again, for somebody who has been around a little bit, I think he adapted really well. So I was surprised that he did get cut. We'll get more of him later about his status now. And anybody else have any other surprising cuts that you think?
Nope, I'll speak more on Darrynton Evans. He's just a very young and ferocious back, and he plays with a lot of energy. So any team that picks him up, they're going to be saying the Bills missed out. That is exactly what they're going to say.
Noted.
What Darrynton Evans did in preseason reminds me of kind of past years. Raheem Blackshear of last year, Christian.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, back if you remember, where we just had these electric running backs in preseason that just couldn't make the cut.
Exactly.
I think we are going to be that team that is like, we should have stuck with that guy because to be honest, I don't know if I'm being sacrilegious right now, but I don't have the greatest faith in James Cook. I mean, we'll see it. We'll see what happens.
He has been very fumble prone. I have known that about James Cook. He fumbles the ball a lot, so people don't really like him in the backfield for those reasons. But we do know that he's versatile when he gets the ball because he's just like Dalvin. You put him in the A gap, and next thing you know, you see him in the C gap. So he's able to move and do that north-south stuff that a lot of running backs don't really do.
Right. No, really interesting. And thank you, Thomas Bailey, for the question. We're going to get into this practice squad talk too, because as we're coming down with the show, right, and we're talking about this, we went from 8 remaining slots on the the projected practice squad roster down to 6, starting with Christian Kirksey, who was just signed this morning. This morning. So again, that's a linebacker coming out of I did not use it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
talk more about it because it's really interesting that they bring a linebacker.
That's a big one. I mean, you can't go in with a linebacker core that's as inexperienced as the Bills is currently. Christian Kirksey is a guy who's been in the league for a while. He got drafted by Cleveland in 2014 in the 3rd round, and he's carved himself a nice NFL role here. Still only 30 years old, and linebackers can sometimes play into their ages. If they can pass cover, they'll be on the field. We're talking about a guy who was a captain for the Texans during his time, so that obviously that pays dividends immediately. And he had 82 solo tackles last year. It's not like he's lost a step. He can still move. So with the really unsure business that we had at linebacker currently, this signing makes all sense in the world.
Yeah, no, really interesting too. And I think, again, talking about more of these practice squad players, Andy Isabella coming back to the practice squad, which I do find a little surprising just because, again, how I was talking about how he was so adaptable to the playbook. And you figure that any team would see that and they'd be like, okay, well, we'll just get him here. But again, what teams are looking for that kind of like slot player or, he was pretty good using on special teams. So happy to have him back on the practice squad, obviously, with our wide receiver depth that we do need. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, we only got 5 on the roster, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I believe so. Yes. No, 6.
6?
It is 6. Shakir is. We'll talk about Shakir later. He did come back to practice.
Okay, cool.
But we also do have Ty Johnson coming back, another running back that was signed a little bit late in the preseason.
And that tells me that they preferred Ty Johnson over Darrynton Evans.
Darrynton Evans,
They didn't bring Darrynton Evans to the practice squad. So that tells you a lot. That tells you about Jordan Mims as well. He got signed already to the Saints practice squad. He's even younger than the both of them.
Exactly. And to remind everybody, this is projected practice squad. So that does not come out until 4 p.m. So we are kind of just talking about this as it is happening. But we do also have cornerback Ingram, who we're talking about. Yeah, DeMarcus Ingram.
He earned his spot. I think he's going to be a practice squad linebacker as soon as I saw him play.
Yeah, what do you, I mean, again, he had those flashes this past preseason game. He made a pick. Doing really good. I think Kayla called him a workhorse last time, and as you're absolutely right about that. We also have what's another name we get there out there? We got Cameron Klein. I was about to say Eli Inko.
Eli Inko is, I mean, to have him as your 6th defensive tackle on your entire roster, that's impressive. I mean, this is a guy that should have a spot on a 53-man roster, and we are lucky enough to have him on the practice squad. I mean, this is a guy who plays a phenomenal one-tack, and we really don't need him because we have this guy named DaQuan Jones. So, which, by the way, hashtag re-sign DaQuan Jones right now.
Yeah, right. I agree with you. Yeah, we got those players focused on Cameron Klein, DJ Dale, and even if we're kind of slipping into the O-line a little bit, Richard Gurridge is back on the practice squad. And that's interesting because I think we do need a lot of O-line depth, and they did carve out that space in the 53-man roster to make way for that. And we also have Kyron Brown coming back, and we also have Joel Wilson. So some interesting names. Again, I think Joel Wilson as well with
great blocker.
Great blocker, exactly. And we do have 3 tight ends on the roster right now. Quentin Morris made it because he, again, I think has been really solid, making it over O.J. Howard last season. And especially with kind of how we're using our tight ends, I'm fine with having more tight end depth again, because I think
we have a lot of receiving tight ends, so getting that versatility and having someone that could come in and block and just push the line, that's exactly what we need. So happy to have him as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the practice squad for now. Again, we will update you. Justin is taking a look while we're doing the show. So if anything does pop up, you will be the first to know. Before we go into our next discussion, we're going to take another question from the audience. And it's from Big Matt 716. The Boogie trade, no Vaughn for 4 games, signed Kirksey to practice squad. Interesting. No question mark at the end, but all things that are true. And thank you, Big Matt, because now we can kind of segue into our next section about Von Miller. They did take him off the PUP. They kept him on. I'm sorry. They kept him on.
They kept him on.
Which means that he will be missing the first 4 games. And those first 4 games include the really big Jets game, a game against the Dolphins. And then, you also got the home opener versus the Raiders and the Commanders week 3. So
this move made sense from the beginning. You don't need Von Miller in the beginning of the season. You need him down that final stretch. So keep him healthy, and keep him wrapped in bubble wrap, and then have him come rush the passer in week 5.
And
that's totally true. And you know what? Before you were going to say that, I was going to say that I'm of the camp that I'm very I know. Listen, keep him healthy for sure. But I was very disappointed, especially with that first huge game of the Jets. That game against Miami, he is a playmaker every single time he steps onto that field. We need him for those games, but no, keep him healthy.
I'll throw this question at you as well because we got it last week. What do you think is going to be the Bills' hardest game this season? Do you think it's that Jets game, or do you think that's why we're?
I honestly think they're going to be mostly interdivision. Interdivisional. I think
even Miami, you play in that heat and they put you right in the sun there.
Yeah, they do that on purpose too. It's so crazy. They have 50 degrees cooler on their side because of the way that the dome is set up. That's so crazy.
Hey, can we get the NFLPA to take a look at that?
But speaking more on that Von Miller, though, I like the fact that we're going to be able to see Leonard Floyd and Greg Rousseau coming off the edge because Leonard Floyd's going to be able to get that time in and build a rapport with the rest of the defense. So when Von Miller does come back, it won't be like Von can stay in the game all the time. They can just substitute Leonard Floyd in and feel comfortable with having Floyd on the field.
Exactly. And Greg Rousseau stepping it up really big last season when Von Miller did go down. And thank you for the question, Big Matt. We're going to go to our next question. Which is from Ronan McDonald. How confident are we feeling about week 1 after these cuts? I
feel a lot better.
So I was going to say, you start out. I got to think a little bit.
for that.
Oh, there goes the laptop. So Justin will be joining me on my side. Okay, so I would say that I'm thinking I do feel pretty confident again with what we do have, and I think the O-line adjustments that needed to be made with this 53 man roster were made. We have a pretty stacked D-line with, like I said, how much depth we have.
A lot of depth.
I'm
depth all the
feeling
way to
very
the
confident, even without a key player like Von Miller. I know. We also have some other stuff that we wanted to touch on with our IR. Obviously, Matt Barkley being out for the season, an elbow injury. Again, he's QB3, so wishing him well in his recovery. And then stuff like Justin Shorter on the IR as well. Even stuff like that. Like I do feel confident that we still have, the strength, even with losing a little bit of that depth later on.
I think we're really going to see if this season, if these sort of off-field distractions come into play again this year, especially with Josh Allen's girlfriend, Diggs's, supposed quarrels with people, which are I don't believe, but
with Stephen A.
Stephen A. No, but I think it's going to be a test. I think we're going to see how they handle that, and if when they come out the gate, if they're going to be a strong team right out the gate, or if it's going to take a couple games to form that.
My confidence level is very high as of right now.
Yeah.
And the reason of that is that the Bills are very, very healthy relatively heading into the season. There's depth at positions that are very important in the NFL right now. Cornerback, defensive line. There's serious depth. There's even depth at safety. Damar Hamlin looked great this preseason.
Yeah, you know what? Let's touch on that too, because how amazing is it and I know again the media's been talking about it so much, as they should.
Can't talk about it enough.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Hand from us here at the studio. How amazing is it for him to come out of this recovery, make the 53-man roster, and it's not anything like I know you see the conversation on social media all the time, like they're just going to throw him in, of course, just because they have to. No, he showed up in preseason. Yeah,
he's a player, and I remember back when he got drafted, he was considered a steal in the 6th round. He played some good ball at Pitt, and he came in along with Dane Jackson, not the same draft class, but years separate. And those two are going to play pivotal roles for the Bills this year. Whether it's 100%. Hamlin coming down and Taylor Raft coming down to the box, there's good depth there, guys.
That's something I was going to get in as well. I wanted to see if the Bills would be looking at that sub linebacker spot and using their safeties and cornerbacks more in the linebacker position. And I think because he's been having a great preseason, and what I can say I do believe that Damar Hamlin has a chance for comeback player of the year. That's something that I'm looking at for sure.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I think it is so interesting to talk about kind of that thing of how they're going to use our safeties as well, with it being a McDermott-led defense now. And, again, trying to fill this hole with Germain Ifeti has been so difficult. And not to hate on Tyrell Dodson or anything. I love T-Dot, but the preseason was rough. Yeah. And it's just hard to fill those shoes. So I'm kind of wondering how they're going to use them. So thank you, Ronan, for the question. And we're going to kind of keep going and rolling the ball here with our people that are back to practice once again. Speaking of the linebacker spot, well, you do have Balen Spector on short-term IR right now. You do have Terrell Bernard coming back to practice, which is kind of ironic that he is pinned to be this linebacker one because he didn't play a single game.
So that just shows their confidence in him, though.
Exactly. That shows their confidence, but it also...
let me pose the question to you guys now. Once Christian Kirksey comes off that practice squad, do you have him or do you have Terrell Bernard as your linebacker one right now?
I think it's going to show with the chemistry that they have on the defense, because their defensive line and their linebackers, everyone else is going to feel more comfortable around who they want to be their leader. So if it's down to Kirksey becoming that number one linebacker, it'll be because he earned it.
How long has Kirksey been playing in the league?
It's been 2014.
2014.
So about 8 years now.
Exactly. Veteran. I think that's what they are missing with this.
He was, like I said, he was a captain for Houston last year, and that pays. That's a lot of, McDermott's going to love that. That's all I'll say.
Exactly. So really happy that, he's there. And we also have other, players that are worth mentioning. Darwin Williams also coming back. Yep. Khalil Shakir also coming back.
I thought he would. Shakir was one where I was like, hey, don't be surprised if something happened, whether it's a trade or a cut. He stays healthy with that rib injury. He's probably going to be ready for week 1. And the other guy I'm going to have circled to see if he's ready for week 1 would be Connor McGovern, because he had that knee injury, and there's a lot of uncertainty right now, but he did return to practice today in some capacity.
Exactly.
So we'll see how that fares, and then left guard might be David Edwards for week 1 if he's not.
Yeah, and again with losing Tommy Doyle as well, God bless him. the guard position and the whole line is definitely a big question mark right now. We're going to go to one last question here before we wrap things up here in the studio. From Peak Power, are your eyes on a specific player this season on the practice squad? Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely. What do you think?
I'll tell you, I got two, and I think these are guys that are going to see snaps at some point in the season. It's Jamarcus Ingram and Eli Yanku. I mean, you could say Kirksey. That's the cheap way out. He's going to be on active roster probably week 1 or week 2.
Exactly.
But injuries happen, guys. And like I said, defensive tackle, very important position. Quarterback, very important position. Guys get hurt. Ingram and Yanku have shown me that they can play. And I think they're going to play at some point for the Bills this year.
Yeah, I agree. I totally
I would
agree.
go with Andy Isabella.
Yeah.
I want to see Andy Isabella make the cut over. Because Deontay Hardy's not, but I would like Andy Isabella to be the guy that they use for the gadget. Those three, I would like to see Diggs, Davis, and Andy Isabella as the wide receiver core.
Josh Allen likes those smaller guys,
One thing I would like to point out, he said Diggs, Davis, and Isabella, which means he's putting Isabella over Shakir.
Yes, Davis, Isabella.
I mean, I'm jacking that. Khalil Shakir is cool and all, but I like Isabella the way that we've been talking about him.
Imaginary board we got. we'll come back to it. Jets game. We'll see. Anybody else that we're looking at for this practice squad?
A lot of these guys just need some time to grow, and they absolutely could see the field next season. Right now, eyes on Ingram and Wilson or Yanku.
Yeah. All right, and I totally lied to you guys. We have one more question.
Nice.
We love you guys so much. Thanks for tossing these at us. From Dante, do you think the Bills have a set defense?
There's never a set defense.
Yeah.
There is never a set defense.
Defense and offense is constantly evolving in the NFL.
Yes.
And you're going to see within the first 4 weeks, it's going to be somewhat of a shocking defense because of this McDermott takeover.
I was just about to say, I think alone the fact that you have McDermott taking over is enough to say that you don't have a set defense.
But you still need the games to grow, and they're going to need it, and it's going to work out.
Yes.
I think either way.
Exactly. I'm optimistic. I think it is going to work out, but again, it's just time will tell.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of that nickel defense that they run because Taron Johnson is such
TJ.
a luxury to have a nickel corner.
See,
but like we said before, I think Taylor Rapp is going to come down and play some.
Now getting into that nickel defense, and we're asking about set line, not linebackers, cornerbacks. Who do we think is going to be that slot
CB2?
corner or not CB2, CB3 if they really want to? Because I feel like it's going to be Dane Jackson and Christian
probably.
Benford.
If you're not talking about that slot, if you're talking about that outside boundary corner, I've got Dane Jackson.
Absolutely.
Right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Elam is always. I mean, we've been talking about this for weeks now about like what's going to happen with Elam because he's been big man-to-man guy, trying to find his way into the defense. The defensive scheme right now is struggling a little bit, especially going behind Benford now. So that was kind of everybody's question. And with yesterday especially, it was, are we going to see an Elam trade? And then surprisingly, we didn't. So
some people frown upon that pick, but in the NFL, there's a lot of give and take, right? So you look at the Elam first round pick, people are going to say, "Wow, they really screwed that one up." They took Benford in the 6th. Yeah, if he pans out, that's a wash. I don't care.
Exactly. So just a really interesting discussion to have, and I'm wondering if they're kind of just relying on him, almost like Spencer Brown, where it's like, is he going to just grow into this role? Yeah. Which unfortunately, I was going to say, which we still are looking for him to grow like that. But again, I think all of this really important to cover, and I'm glad that we did get this out today because all this stuff coming at you right now is great. We still have those 6 slots remaining. I don't think you want to check one last time before we have to see if there's anything. But we do have again 6 slots remaining on this practice squad. Some guys, do we have any predictions of who else might be coming back? Because Darrynton Evans is still.
You already know that's what I'm going to say. We have 2 weekends.
Even with Ty Johnson just getting signed.
So even with Ty Johnson getting signed, he still doesn't change the light that I have in my eyes for Darrynton Evans, because I know that Ty Johnson played for the Jets, and I'm not that big of a Jets fan. I have a lot of friends that are Jets fans, so he was cool and all playing down there. But you saw what happened when he was down there with the Jets. He got beat out. So I want him to get beat out again by Darrynton Evans.
Yeah, sure. Anybody else? Any other predictions?
I would like to just point out that Nick Broker, the guard that we had cut, signed with the Houston Texans.
As well as Alex Austin.
Yeah, so interesting. It seems like we're shipping a lot of people over to the Texans.
But one thing to kind of wrap up this conversation is, again, keep an eye on the Bills looking for a quarterback too. I don't think that discussion's over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I want to point out, Nathan Peterman's out there.
Bring him back. That's my guy. Okay, thank you for joining all of us. We appreciate it. My name is Zielezinski, Justin Siejak, Deshawn Francois, Brandon Barry, and also Richie Miller. Thank you for joining us. Remember to like, follow, subscribe on everything Buffalo Sports Insider. This guy tweets all day, so you can catch us at everything: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, our website, buffalosportsinsider.com. Thank you very much for joining us. Be safe, be good to each other. Have a great week. You guys take care.